So after doing a review of Jurassic World Rebirth, I started to feel nostalgic for some good old-fashioned entertainment. A film that could take me back to a time when creatives could do far more with far less. But what to watch, I thought to myself. Definitely not Jurassic Park, as I was a bit burned out from that. But then I saw an advert of Alien Earth, a show I've had absolutely no intention of watching, but it did make me think of the original 1979 film by Ridley Scott. Back when he was a talented director, rather than a man determined to destroy his own once tremendous legacy. Seriously, how the hell did he think angry CGI baboons was a good idea?
Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
It was a fairly simple concept, really. A group of people trapped in a confined location with a monster, and they have to use their wits and what little resources they have in order to survive. But for things like this, it is the execution that really makes a difference. The xenomorph was a terrifying and revolutionary monster, with its unique life cycle and an armoured skeleton appearance, and to this day is still regarded as one of the greatest villains of all time. The cultural impact of Alien is so big that as of this video, it's spawned 7 films, 2 crossover films, and a TV series, which together have, let's be polite and say, mixed results. However, there's nothing mixed about the beginning. Starting with a budget of just $4.2 million, the studio doubled the budget immediately after Scott showed them storyboards, and their faith would certainly pay off, making somewhere between $78 and $105 million in just the domestic box office alone, and regarded as an instant classic by audiences, although critics were less enthusiastic at first. But hey, critics love The Acolyte, so make of that what you will.
The power of many.
Shut up!
Helping the success was a cast of extremely talented actors, ranging from character actors to classically trained thespians to guys who were just spotted at a bar, all of whom brought a gritty realism and emotion to the role. The lead of which is Sigourney Weaver portraying the now iconic Ellen Ripley, seen by many as the ultimate badass female hero. Funny enough, Weaver actually got the role when she originally went to the wrong studio for the audition and had to rush to the correct one through thick traffic. She arrived half an hour late and, as you can imagine, was very stressed and dishevelled. Yet she instantly managed to compose herself and give an excellent audition. The casting director liked how she managed to seem so calm and collected despite the fact that she clearly wasn't, and cast her for the role that would make her career. Anyway, I won't go through a complete blow-by-blow of the plot because it's a 46-year-old film and most people already know the story. However, there will be spoilers ahead for those of you that haven't seen it yet, and if you haven't seen it, then go bloody do that. Also, for the sake of this video, I'm only going to be covering the original film, and none of its sequels or prequels or spin-offs. In fact, I'm even going to pretend that none of them even exist, as some of them, Prometheus, Covenant, really kill a lot of the mystery and intrigue that Alien built up.
Watch me. I'll do the fingering.
We begin in the year 2122 on a commercial space tug called the Nostromo. The crew consisting of Captain Dallas, Ellen Ripley, the warrant officer, Lambert, the ship's navigator, Kane, the executive officer and second in command, Ash, the science officer, Parker, the chief engineer, and Brett, the engineering technician, are unexpectedly woken up from stasis 10 months away from Earth. Oh yeah, and the ship has a cat called Jones. The ship's computer mother detected a distress signal, and the faceless company they work for, Weyland-Yutani, sends the crew to go investigate, as there might be something of value to the company. Most of the crew aren't exactly happy about the extra work, and the fact that due to their diversion, they'll return to Earth 3 months late, and some point blank even refuse to go without some extra compensation. I wouldn't do 3 months overtime for nothing. But Ash points out a clause in their contracts saying that if they don't go and investigate the transmission, they forfeit all their wages. Keep Ash's persuasion in mind, as it will be relevant later. They land the ship on the planet where the distress signal's coming from, but a rough landing damages the ship slightly, leaving Parker and Brett to fix the damage. Meanwhile, Dallas, Kane and Lambert set out to find the source of the transmission, leaving Ripley and Ash to decipher said transmission. Kane is the first to volunteer for the exposition to find the source of the signal. This tells us that he is a brave and courageous individual with a dive-in head-first mentality, which leads me to believe he would be the first of the crew to hit the like and subscribe button. After a while, Dallas and his team find a mysterious alien vessel, and inside the vessel, the skeleton of a massive creature that had its ribcage blown open from the inside. When first watching this, you wonder what happened here, and what could possibly do this to such a gigantic creature. Again, Prometheus doesn't exist. Also, a little bit of trivia here for you. The set designers actually created a 20-foot form model for the space jockey, as it was called back then, and used Ridley Scott's two kids in spacesuits as stand-in for the actors to make the model look even bigger. On the Nostromo, Ripley has looked more at the transmission and suspects that it's not an SOS signal, but rather a warning to keep away. She wants to go out to the others and warn them, but Ash points out that they left ages ago. They've gone far enough that they're out of radio range, and there's no chance she could catch them on foot. Ripley doesn't like this, but she agrees and keeps trying the radio, hoping to get through. You know, I'm starting to become suspicious of Ash. Meanwhile, Kay ventures further into the strange vessel to find a strange chamber that's covered in a strange fog and filled with strange eggs. This is all very strange. Kane leans over to observe the egg, curious as to what exactly it is, when suddenly the egg opens up and a spider-like creature breaks Kane's helmet and attaches itself to his face. Not the smartest move a character makes in this film, to be honest. I have to say, even as a fully grown adult, this scene makes me tense up a little in my chest. Seeing the creature inside the egg moving around, waiting because I know something is going to happen sometime soon. And then as the egg opens, we get something move around a little bit, before the scare of the facehugger's first ever appearance. Another thought I had the very first time I watched this as a kid was all this chaos was caused by just one egg. What the hell would happen if all the others hatched? Then I watched Aliens and all my queries were answered. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the ship, but Ripley refuses to let them in, pointing out that they have no idea what that thing on Kane's face is, or if any of the others have been exposed to something unknown, and cites the 24-hour quarantine rules for the sake of the whole crew, while Dallas is ordering Ripley to open the door as Kane is dying and his best chance of survival is to get him medical attention as quickly as possible. Something I really like about this exchange is that neither Ripley or Dallas are painted as in the wrong. Both have varied points and are trying to do what they believe to be right. Dallas trying to save the life of a man and friend dying in his arms. Ripley is thinking about the entire crew, as saving Kane could put everyone else in grave danger or even get them killed. Which side you agree on would probably depend on your own point of view. Would you risk the life of a friend who's dying in order to protect 5 other innocent people? Or would you risk the 5 people to save your friend? Are you the save the individual life in front of you sort of person? Or are you a somewhat colder but bigger picture type of person? The argument between the two is broken up because Ash ignores quarantine protocols and lets Dallas, Kane and Lambert onto the ship, and the group take Kane to the medical bay. Yeah, there is definitely something about Ash. I'm keeping my eye on him. Ash and Lambert attempt to remove the facehugger from Kane, but after the first incision they find the facehugger has highly corrosive acid for blood, with just a few drops able to burn through several floors of the ship before finally stopping. Meaning that if they cut the facehugger off, not only would it kill Kane, but it would also burn through the whole of the ship, leaving them all stranded. It also means that killing the thing is now much more difficult. A massive contrast with this and a lot of modern films is that throughout the whole procedure there's no running around, fist fighting, panicking or crying. Everyone just keeps calm and does their assigned jobs to the best of their abilities. But while Kane is in hospital, mistrust is starting to build among the crew. Ripley is worried that Dallas is angry about her refusing to let them inside the ship, and Dallas doesn't wish to discuss it. That is until Ripley closes the door on them both. Dallas assures her that he's not angry with her, and that they were all under difficult circumstances and she did what she felt was right. Ripley is also starting to doubt Ash, as he is the only member of the crew they don't really know. He was a late replacement for their usual science officer just 2 days before they left for the job.
How about that?
This heightens my suspicions. Dallas is also weary of Ash, but wants them both to keep it quiet for now, as he doesn't want to cause any unnecessary drama on the ship. Then they get a call from Ash to come see Kane. Miraculously, in the last few hours, the facehugger has just detached itself from Kane's face and then died on the floor. Kane is understandably shaken and pale from his ordeal. He's almost as pale as me, in fact, and doesn't feel too great, but alive nonetheless. With the ship now mostly fixed up and flying back to Earth, and Kane on the mend, the crew decide to go back into stasis and put this whole ordeal behind them. But Kane would like to have one last meal before going back into stasis as he's famished. After everything they've been through, the whole crew agrees. And so follows what is quite possibly the most infamous dinner scene in all of cinema history, with the possible exception of Borat.
Where shall I put this?
Oh,
My friend Luna.
Hi. Oh, okay.
Camera
I hope so.
I've already called them.
Thanks.
I just wanted an excuse to slip that clip in somewhere. The crew start chatting about how when they get back home they plan to get some good food, As a food snob, I sympathise. When Kane starts to convulse over the table in agony, I'm not going to show all the clip because children might be watching, but suffice to say, this is a dinner party that even Hannibal Lecter would find a bit much. A small alien chest burster bursts through Kane's chest, killing him. It's not just a clever name. Parker quickly tries to kill the creature, but Ash stops him. Yeah, I am now 99.7% sure that there is something off about Ash, citing that the acid blood could potentially destroy the whole ship, and the small chest burster runs off, putting a serious dampener on the whole meal. I mean, seriously, what an absolute prick. He shows up uninvited, ruins the whole meal for everyone, and then runs off without even offering to pay for his share. No wonder Parker went stabbed a little sod. When filming this scene, none of the casts, other than John Hurt of course, knew what was going to happen. Their script just said something would happen. So the shocked reaction from the cast was all real. Sigourney Weaver generally thought John Hurt was in real pain whilst filming, but kept in character because no one shouted cut. What an absolute pro. Whilst Veronica Cartwright, who played Lambert, got most of the blood all over her face and in her mouth, and her reaction was genuine shock. Yet she still showed up for filming the next morning. I can't imagine any director today being able to get away with something like this, and I can't imagine any actor today willing to go through something like this either. But back then people managed to power through things and get the job done, and, well, results speak for themselves really. The crew give Kane a small memorial service and eject his body into space, then come up with a simple but sensible plan to deal with the alien. Armed with movement sensors, tasers and nets, they split into two groups, Dallas, Ash and Lambert on one team, Ripley, Parker and Brett on the other. They simply use the tasers and nets to capture the alien without making it bleed, and then just eject it into space. While searching the ship, Ripley's team detects the ship's cat Jones and it runs off. Ripley and Parker tell Brett to go get the cat, as he was the one that let it go, and they might detect it again rather than the alien. Whilst Brett looks around for the cat, he sees that the alien's skin has molted off like a snake, and the xenomorph sneaks up behind him, now fully grown to a 7-foot armour-plated monster, and kills Brett with ease. I just love how the cat couldn't care less about one of the humans being torn to shreds right in front of him.
I admire its purity, a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
With two of the crew dead and the xenomorph now the size of a bear, things are starting to get a bit desperate for the remaining crew. They've realised that the xenomorph is using the vents to get around the ship, so in a desperate attempt to stop it once and for all, Dallas grabs a flamethrower, whipped up by Parker, and heads into the vents to force the xenomorph into the airlock to kill it, while the rest of the crew controls the vent doors and keeping an eye on the sensors. Unfortunately, the xenomorph is quick enough to sneak up on Dallas and kill him as well, leaving only the flamethrower behind when the crew go to look for him. Now Ripley's in command, and the crew are breaking down. Parker wants to go off on a rampage and just kill the thing. Lambert is in pieces and wants to get in the escape pod. However, Ripley points out the pod can only take 3 of them, so one would be left behind, and she refuses to do that. However, now that she's in command, Ripley has access to Mother and goes to consult it. And, well, this is where she realises things are worse than previously thought.
There is an explanation for this, you know.
Be honest with me, viewer. It's not just me being paranoid. Ash is up to something. Right? So, yeah. Turns out the whole thing is a setup. Weyland-Yutani just wants the xenomorph for its weapons division, and is willing to kill several employees to get it. And Ash is working undercover to bring it back, with all the crew expendable.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
I've had a few bad bosses in my time, but none of them have ever tried to kill 6 members of staff. That I know of. And the deception just gets worse. Ripley goes to tell the rest of the crew when Ash stops her. They're both at their absolute limit here. Ripley's nose starts to bleed in the middle of all this, and Ash starts bleeding white milk liquid before he attacks her and tries to kill her. A fight breaks out between Ash and the rest of the crew when the final twist is revealed.
It's a robot! Ash is a goddamn robot!
Broken and defeated, Ash confesses to everything, smugly telling them how hopeless their situation is, then delivers one of the most chilling lines in cinema history.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
If I ever give a speech at a wedding, I am so ending it with this line. Now there's only 3 members of the crew left, so they all decide to take their chances in the escape pod and activate the ship's self-destruct before leaving, killing the xenomorph. Ripley goes to prep the shuttle, whilst Parker and Lambert go to get the needed supplies as quick as possible. Unfortunately, the xenomorph kills both Parker and Lambert, leaving Ripley as now the only remaining member left. She activates the ship's self-destruct button with a 10-minute countdown, so the race is on. Get to the escape pod, with Jones of course, and get a safe distance before the entire ship is disintegrated. Easy enough, but with the xenomorph also running around the ship, that certainly does complicate things. After avoiding a close encounter with the xenomorph just outside the shuttle entrance, Ripley and Jones manage to get in the pod and get away safely just in time to see the Nostromo completely disintegrated, sighing a breath of relief that the ordeal is finally over and that the monster who killed everyone is destroyed. See, look at that. There is absolutely no chance any part of the Nostromo is intact. None at all. It's just like the Death Star. If you ever think you've had a tough day at the office, bear Ripley's day at work in mind. She puts Jones in stasis and prepares to do so herself. But this is a horror film and the villain has to have one final scare. The xenomorph found a compartment in the escape pod and is hiding there. Ripley, obviously terrified, braces herself, dons a spacesuit and a grappling gun, straps herself into a chair, and just as the xenomorph is about to kill her, she opens the doors and shoots the xenomorph, blasting it outside. Even that is not enough to put this thing down though. Perfect specimen indeed, as it grabs onto the outside of the ship and tries to climb back in through the exhaust. Ripley pulls one final trick from her sleeve, starting the engines and blowing the xenomorph away for good. Again, we are not including any other Alien films at all. The nightmare is finally over. Ripley puts in one final log entry about the events and then puts herself into stasis, hopeful that she'll be back to Earth soon. So that's the basic plot for Alien, and summarising this film is quite difficult as there is a lot to digest. This film is an absolute masterclass in slow burn. A lot of horror films rely on jump scares. Alien, on the other hand, spends time building up the suspense. The first kill doesn't even happen until about halfway through the film, and for the first hour and 7 minutes the xenomorph has a smaller body count than Alec Baldwin, allegedly. The film uses the environment, like the cold, sterile, corporate feel of the Nostromo, and the animalistic, angry atmosphere of the planet to help build the feeling of unease from the very start. The fact that we know pretty much nothing about the planet, space jockeys, xenomorph, or the eggs just adds to the tension building, and it's over an hour until we even see the xenomorph, and even then we only get brief glimpses of it, keeping it mostly hidden in the shadows and letting our own imagination run wild. Ridley Scott, at the time of making the first film at least, knew that whatever answers he could think up simply would not be as scary as the mystery of the whole thing. Throughout the film, and even after, we still have questions about what the space jockey is, where the eggs came from, and what happened between them all. Part of the tension was actually helped by Ridley himself. He arrived early to set every day to move the walls of the set a little closer to each other, so as to make everyone feel a little more claustrophobic as time went on without them even realising why. One person I haven't yet mentioned in this review is Balaji Badeljo, and I apologise if I butchered that name, the 26-year-old graphic designer who portrayed the xenomorph. Found in a bar in Soho by complete chance, his 7-foot frame, slim build and long arms made him an excellent candidate for the xenomorph. Yet despite the very limited screen time and the lack of any acting experience, he was just as dedicated to making a great film as everyone else. Not only did he endure hours of makeup every day and learn to move very carefully in order to not damage the fragile costume, he also took mime and tai chi classes to make his movements look less human. I like how we just get glimpses of this cold corporate world as well. Weyland-Yutani is an utterly faceless megacorp. The only representatives of the company are the computer mother, that throughout the film is deliberately unhelpful and just follows the company guidebook, and Ash, an undercover robot that also withholds important information from the crew. It's as if the filmmakers knew how awful company's automated phone and messaging systems would be in the near future. Even the final meal between the crew, Dallas says is on him. This could just be a joke on his part, but it's more likely that every single meal they eat whilst working comes out of their wages, and they're working on this thing for 2 years. It's not like they have the option of bringing sandwiches with them. The fact that the crew all respond to the events of the film in a sensible manner is a massive contrast to a lot of films today, where the plot is just carried by the cast making increasingly dumb decisions, a la Alien Covenant. This, along with them all looking and acting like real working Joes rather than a bunch of bland 20-year-old Instagram models or pretty boy twinks, makes it much easier to immerse yourself into the story. The crew getting more erratic as things go on, and mistrust building between them is all very realistic. In such a life or death situation, people would all start to unfold in different ways, whether it be Lambert breaking down in fear, Parker thirsting for vengeance, or Dallas just trying to keep calm and hold the crew together. The film also takes its time to flesh out the characters. At the start, Parker and Brett tease Ripley while she's given them a job to do, and even earlier than that we have the conversation over breakfast, with Ripley and Dallas having a friendly but professional sounding chat, Parker and Brett are working up the nerve to ask for better bonuses for the job, and Ash being quiet, formal and clearly something of an outsider. It's simple things like this that help develop relationships between all of them, makes their individual reactions to each problem all the more real, and also helps us the viewer actually care when characters start dying. By the end of the film we really want to see Ripley make it off that ship alive. Well, I think that about wraps things up really. Thanks to everyone who watched this video. If you enjoyed it, I would be very grateful if you could like and subscribe. It does really help out a lot. I'm currently working on a Superman review, but as it's proven to be a lot longer than originally anticipated, I will be splitting it into 3 parts, the first of which should be out sometime in the next few weeks, and I'll be making other videos between then and the other 2 parts as well. Till next time, dear viewer.